Navigating ethical dilemmas in communication, principles, problems, and solutions. In a world where words have power, ethical dilemmas in communication are inevitable. Whether it's balancing honesty with empathy or respecting privacy while sharing information. These challenges are present in every conversation. Understanding the principles behind ethical communication and finding solution to those dilemmas is key to fostering trust and responsibility in any interaction. So now, we're going to talk about it. So to move forward, here, we are BS Psychology students talked about navigating ethical dilemmas in communication, principles, problems, and solutions.
Good day, everyone! Today, we will address a topic that affects all of us in our daily lives: ethical dilemmas and communication. Whether you're at work, in school, on social media, or in your personal relationships, how we communicate often presents us with choices that test our values, honesty, and responsibilities. So, let's dive deep and understand how to navigate these ethical challenges with wisdom and integrity.
To begin with, in the context of communication, an ethical dilemma is a circumstance the communicator must decide between being morally and reasonable, frequently involving the possibility of fabrications, manipulations, or harm to others. These conundrums occurs when someone has to choose how to communicate information in a way that holds moral values like justice, honesty, and integrity, but can also run counter to organizational or personal interest.
However, there are four major ethical issues that frequently arise in the communication process.
Yes, you're right. And the four major ethical issues are plagiarism, selective misquoting, misinterpreting numbers, and distorting visuals. These dilemmas have the power to influence how people view, believe, and comprehend information. Let's examine each of these in more details, considering the ethical consequence as well as any possible outcomes.
Okay, let's begin with the first one. Please explain what plagiarism is.
It is defined as the act of presenting another author's work and claiming it your own. Written text, lectures, pictures, and even research can be used for this. For instance, consider a journalist stealing a complete piece from another author without giving credit, or a student stealing a paragraph from a book and passing it off as their own. By passing off someone else's work as their own, a communicator is misleading the audience in both situations.
Also to add, plagiarism is an act of dishonesty. It also disregards the hard work of others, depriving them of the recognition they deserve.
Next, let's move on to selective misquoting. Please explain for this.
So, selective misquoting is defined as the repetition of something someone has said in a way that is not accurate.
So, when does this usually happen?
This happens each time a communicator selectively quotes or removes someone else's words from context in order to change the original meaning. For example, when an artist says, "While I don't always agree with his methods, I admire his dedication and creativity." But a journalist quotes only, "I don't always agree with his methods," changing the focus of the message.
How can we avoid
Yes.
selective misquoting?
To avoid selective misquoting, it is essential to present quotes in their full context, ensuring that the speaker's original message is conveyed and preserved.
Great. Moving on, let's talk about misinterpreting numbers. Alexa, please explain.
Okay, so misinterpreting numbers is the unethical manipulation of data increasing, decreasing, altering statistics, or meaning. When data is misrepresented, the audience is deprived of accurate information.
which can affect decision making, whether it's investors, consumers, or business. People rely on accurate data to make
To add on, misinterpreting data can lead to poor decision making. It can also undermine trust in both the communicator and the source of the data.
An example for this is a study shows that new medication reduces the risk of certain disease from 4% to 10%. But some complaints the new medication reduces the risk of disease by 2%. This can create false investment by presenting data responsibly.
Finally, let's address distorting visuals. Please, Lovely, explain further.
So the starting visuals refer to the process of changing or visuals elements original appearance to the point where it is deceiving or misleading. It alters people's perception of reality. Distorting images is unethical. Images can be manipulated to a specific story, much like text and data, which deceives the viewer.
Are there any consequences we can get from distorting visuals?
Yes, of course, there are many consequences we can get from distorting visuals. It includes legal ramifications if the distortion harms an individual or group, loss of trust, and backlash from the public if used in business.
To sum up, ethical dilemmas and communication are inevitable, but how we respond defines our character and credibility. By reflecting on principles, consulting frameworks, and applying practical strategies, we can navigate these challenges with integrity. Let's commit to being ethical communicators, people who value truth, respect privacy, and act responsibly for the greater good. I encourage you all to reflect on today's discussion. The next time you face an ethical dilemma, pause, reflect, and act in alignment with your values. Ethical communication creates trust, respect, and positive relationships. Thank you and goodbye.
Navigating ethical dilemmas in communication is not just about following rules, it's about making thoughtful, responsible choices that uphold trust and respect in every interaction. By recognizing the impact of our words and actions, we can avoid harm, protect confidentially, and foster authentic connections. In a world where communication shapes perceptions and relationships, embracing ethical principles ensures that our exchanges remains constructive, compassionate, and aligned with our values. Ultimately, the ability to address these dilemmas with integrity allow us to contribute positively to the conversation that define our personal lives.